impossible to tell whether it was a boy or a girl, but the eyes were those of an old person, huge and beseeching in the pinched face. Rosina pulled out her purse and placed 2 pennies in the outstretched hand. Claw-like fingers closed over the coins, and the child was gone, disappearing into the gaping mouth of a dark alley. Rosina sighed, and a shiver ran down her spine. She had chosen to put it out of her mind, but she knew only too well that poverty marched alongside wealth in the great city of London. Misfortune, disease, and death could strike anyone at any time. She walked on. She would not think about that now, and she would not be unhappy today. The month was May, her favourite time of the year, when the late spring sunshine warmed the cold pavements of East London and banished the pea soup of fogs into a dim memory. She'd been born in May, and her family name was May. The month truly did belong to her. She paused to stare at the brightly coloured parrots, waxbills, canaries and bishop birds in old Jamjar's shop window. They strutted up and down on their perches, or fluttered about in cages, singing, cackling and squawking. She loved to look at them, with their shiny boot-button eyes and bright plumage. But it made her sad to see birds trapped in cages, when they ought to be free to spread their wings and fly away, far above the soot-blackened chimney tops. She tapped the glass, and a green parrot cocked its head on one side. It seemed to wink its large eye at her, and she laughed out loud. "He likes the look of you, young Rosie." Old Jamjar, the owner of the shop, whose foreign name had been too much of a tongue-twister for the East Enders, and had been commuted to Jamjar, came out rubbing his bony fingers together. He grinned at her, exposing bare gums. His teeth had been knocked out in the days when he had been a prize fighter, or so the legend had it. Rosina had never had the heart to inquire if it were true. She laughed at the antics of the parrot. It seemed to enjoy entertaining her by standing on one leg and opening its beak to utter a string of swear words. "I don't think I could take this one home, Mr. Jamjar. Bertha wouldn't have him in the house using language like that." "That bird sailed with Admiral Nelson on the Victory, so it said." Rosina frowned. "That would make him older than my papa. Older than—" She hesitated. Old Jamjar chuckled. "Older than me." "He would be, if it was true. But it's a good story. Maybe one day you'll buy all me birds and set them free, like you always said you would when you was a little girl." "When I'm rich, Mr. Jamjar, that's just what I'll do. Now, I'd best be on my way." "Just wait a moment." He disappeared into the shop, and came back moments later holding a scarlet, green and blue feather in his hand. He gave it to her. "I hadn't forgotten. Happy birthday, Rosie." She studied the gaudy feather and smiled. "It will make a lovely quill pen. Thank you." With a gummy grin and a wink of his one good eye, old Jamjar retreated into his shop and was greeted by a chorus of raucous bird calls. Rosina had always imagined that the jungles of Africa would sound just like that. She would not have been surprised if a monkey had leapt out to swing on the shop sign and tossed a few coconuts into the street. She was tempted to linger, but Bertha would be expecting her home soon. Even though she knew most of the shopkeepers and street sellers by name, Ratcliffe Highway was not the sort of place where it was safe to linger. She stepped out briskly, stopping to accept an apple from a costermonger, who had apparently dandled her on his knee when she was a baby, and a second-hand silk scarf from Fat Frida, who owned the dolly shop on the corner. By the time she reached Black Eagle Wharf, her arms were filled with small gifts from old friends along the way. She could tell by the stench from the manufactories in Silvertown and the ironworks in Bow Creek that the tide had almost reached the high water mark, and the arrival of her father's Thames sailing barge was imminent. She scanned the horizon for a sign of the reddish-brown sails of the Ellie May, named after her mother, who had died when Rosina was just a few days old. There was already a tier of barges moored